Hello! Hello everyone, hello! Welcome. I hope you're well. Welcome to the stream everyone. Hello! Hey Hippa, hello. Welcome to stream, it's nice to see you. Hope you're all doing very well. Hippas and Lunkas alike. Wasn't the stream yesterday. It's been hard to stream on Thursdays, I may say. I might just start, maybe try streaming on Fridays regularly, but yeah, that's why there's a stream today. Also, because Stanley Parable came out, and I'm very excited to play this. I really enjoyed the original version of this that came out, and I've been waiting for Ultra Deluxe for like, how long has it been? Like, we were promised that Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe would come out, like, this year. For, like, maybe 3 years. It feels like it's been a long time that, like, the new Stanley Parable was going to come out, like, this year. So, I have been waiting for this for a very, very long time. So, I'm, like, super excited to finally play this, because it's been a long time, I feel. Like, this game came out in, like, 2015? I don't exactly remember when the original came out. But it was around then, so it has been a very long time actually. It's kind of crazy. It has been at least 5 years. I know for a fact it has been at least 5 years since the original came out, because I got the achievement for Stanley Parable some time ago, a few years ago maybe, to not play the game for 5 years. They have an achievement called like Go Outside or something. And it requires you to not play the game for 5 consecutive years. And then you get the achievement. So it has been that for that long. And this one has a similar achievement as well. I had a look through the achievements, and some of them are pretty funny. But one of them is called Super Go Outside. And it's to not play the game for 10 whole years consecutively. So I'm gonna be 38 or 37. I'm gonna be 37 when I get that achievement. It's gonna be a while. I'll do my best to get that achievement, but right now we're not gonna be making any progress because I intend to play this quite a bit. I want to see all of it. There was some stuff in the launches game because I just started streaming at the menu here. But there was some stuff that asked me, like, what's the time right now? Have you played Stanley Parable before? Stuff like that. And I answered all of it. It was nothing too exciting, but I did say I have played Stanley Parable before. So I wonder if that changes what happens. Because I know for a fact that some of the things are going to be the same. Because it did have the same achievements from the last game. Some of them were. But everything might be like changed in like subtle ways, and it's been so long since I played the original anyway, so I think we're just gonna be playing the game ordinarily, not just like seek out the new stuff, but like do all of it. Let's just play Stanley Parable and see what new stuff we can find. I have a fairly good memory of like kinda how some of the routes went. So if I see anything sussy, I think I'll be able to tell that something's not quite right, and we can go down that route. But I'm kind of excited about the whole journey here. So I don't think I'm gonna need to like look up a guide or anything for how to find the new stuff. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing really well. I hope everyone's having a lovely Friday evening. I'm having a very calm Friday evening here myself. My brother was just here. I haven't seen him in a very long time, like a year or 2 or something. Maybe not 2 years, but I probably haven't seen him in a year. So that was very lovely. And jumping right into stream, right as he left, actually. no rest for the wicked here. We had some pizza, and I watched Always Sunny, which I've been intending to watch for a very long time. That was a very good time. I'll be watching that after the stream, probably. Think I remember the original Fable too? Yeah, the original is an amazing game. It's so funny. It's just such a beautiful game, and I really love it. I did stream the Beginner's Guide once, and I really like that game too, which is the game the developer made after this. So I'm a big fan of everything these guys do. Very big fan. I was so impressed when I played this, because back then I was kind of anti-joking a little bit on like walking simulators. I had like a pretty bad opinion about these games that I regret now, because these games really turned me around, and I really started appreciating what you can do with them. Like, even though there's like limited interactivity, you can just make them really funny and really introspective and nice, and I think that's super cool. I think that's a good amount of faff in here. I think we're ready to go. If you're all ready, I think everyone's ready. Let's begin the game. I still reference this loading screen all the time.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
The end is never the end. It's never the end.
In a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
It's me!
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
It's just like video games. That's what video games are.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
How's the audio? Should I make him quieter at all? Or is it over good? I really appreciate the going back to Source games. It's very nostalgic for me. I really love this sort of art style and everything. It's great. Look at this massive door. It's huge. It's such a big door. I really love Souls games. I'm a big fan. There's something old-fashioned about them. I was kind of like sick of them at the time, but now I'm like, oh my god, it's so sick.
Simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Remember there was like an ending you could get here? I don't remember how to do it, but there's one funny thing actually that's still in the game. So if you're jumping, you get an achievement. I should go over here. Wait 1 second. Allow third-party overlays. There we go. Hey, you didn't see that, but I did get an achievement that it says you can't jump, and I always thought that was really funny. So I both got an achievement for you can't jump, because I pressed jump a bunch of times, and I also got an achievement for getting my first achievement. One of the reasons I think it's so funny you get the achievement to not jump is that there is a keybind for jumping in the controls. And it's specifically there to like recognize that you're trying to jump and not let you. I think that's a really good joke. Like that keybind is there only to say you can't jump, you're not allowed, and then give you an achievement for it. I don't... Oh, here we go, here's a path. See? You can climb up here, and then you can go here.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure.
Good job.
And its examination of structural narrative
Oh,
tropes.
this is just a tiny box.
Now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
I love it.
Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now.
Already?
Are you sick of this gag yet?
Nope.
Ah, then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think
curious.
it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer?
Oh my god,
How
what
long
if?
will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one?
I can't tell you yet.
Imagine if you had selected Continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones.
I'm so
If
lucky.
the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky.
Bad luck, guys.
Well, now,
Sorry.
I've built up
Sorry to
the
condemn you to all this bad
so
luck.
much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Thank you. A good option. Can I say yes? No, I'm not allowed to. I think once this happens. Oh, that's right. When you do left click in this game, you actually hear Stanley like pressing a key, I guess. Yeah, I guess at this point you just have to restart the game. Something very satisfying about all the click clacks. Yeah.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-worker. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along.
Just really so completely white void. That's so
Insightful and
bright.
witty commentary
So
into the
bright.
nature of video game structure
Yeah,
and
sunglasses,
its
dude.
examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yes, yes I am.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game.
No,
So, just to
I will
push
not.
the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long I can maintain.
He did tell us that the other one was going to be miserable, didn't he?
Once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly.
That isn't old.
What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some
Might be gangly, but you know.
He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
Yes. Inevitable.
You too will become quite unbearable.
Hey, good job, clappies. Oh, it just loops the song, but there's no lyrics, right? At least I think it's looping, not sure. It's looping.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Let's just do a regular playthrough here.
Stanley
Let's just do
decided
exactly what it says. That's what it should do.
perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What? What was that? I can turn them off. For whatever reason. Input received. Okay. Hey, Weedle. Very funny. Blaze it.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I don't know if these rooms so far have seemed very different at all. It seems very familiar so far.
To a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Little ball here up inside you. Take a passive aggressively on other coworkers. Resent coworkers for not supporting you more. It's such a good strategy. It always works. What it works to do exactly? I don't know, but it works really well. I recommend it. You get results. Broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
This is a whole thing, but we'll do it later.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
You do get a lot of opportunities to branch off into different stuff, don't you? Even on this regular old normal playthrough. This feels new. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes if the boss has suffered losses, then what's what the boss chose? Then that's what the boss chose, sorry. Hard to read the font. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes if the boss has suffered losses, then that's what the boss chose. Okay. Not sure what's going on in this executive bathroom. Extreme bathrooms! Time. It's time for extreme bathrooms. Okay, they didn't lock the doors. Oh, that door, I think. Yeah. Oh, hello? Now this is different. Business strategy. I employ that one all the time. It's my favorite one. No, this seems familiar. There was like a lift gag, right? In the original? I'm pretty sure there was a lift gag. It's when you leave it on the exact same floor. Like, this is literally just a room you go into and it plays music. Yeah, that guy was there before, but I don't know, this feels kind of different. Right? I don't know.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
That was
But
close.
of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct...
Oh, this is different.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
I feel like the presentation might be like slightly different, but it's like the same sort of outcome, right? Like, did you get like this dim lit office with like this opening up the same way before? I feel like this is different. I feel like it just opened the door somewhere before. I guess I think they might have like made some of the parts that were like already in the game just a bit slicker looking, right? I feel like the lighting is definitely better. There is dynamic lighting in Source though, but looks quite nice. Yep.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Doing exactly what I'm being told does make me feel so free.
He walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
No way. I have too much to live for. I can't go there now. That's why I'm so close.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
I love all the rooms in this.
To find
yeah,
out.
like makes you feel so tiny. Like even the office, like everything is just so huge.
Now the monitors
Fired.
Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
But it's still filming the fine person.
The lives
Evil.
of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom...
That's the Face Punch logo down there. I did say like it reminded me of like Souls games, and I was gonna say it reminds me, gives you a lot of memories back to like Gmod and stuff. Where we're going to Face Punch a bunch to go on the forums there. There was a big old Garry's Mod bolt you could. I was never a big fan of it though. I never particularly liked the people.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time?
It's got to be a bunch of good jokes if you can zoom in on some of these.
That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly.
I bet the Face Punch thing has probably been there since the mod version, right?
His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it?
Because this used to be like a very old mod for like Source, like before it was a standalone game.
Utterly blind to the world. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
I feel like these buttons used to be more explicit before, and not just like lights. Maybe I'm wrong. We kind of just featureless buttons here. Bloop, 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 bloop. I think I should play the mod version at some point. I actually haven't played it myself, but I really should play it because I think the mod version is actually quite different from the standalone version they made. This room is very fun. It's very big. It's got a lot of buttons with different labels. But none of them really seem to do anything. There's a button up there. How do you even get there? There's a locked door here. Maybe if you press the buttons, you can open the door. 1, 2. Console disabled. Like they all are worded in such a way that seems like you can do something here, but I'm pretty sure you can't. You're kind of too deep in the belly of the beast at this point. You have no agency here. No control. Yeah, it's still closed though. You can probably like go into like a map editor and actually see that like, yeah, it's hooked up to literally nothing. You can't go up there. Wow, it's really dark. Holy shit. They did also like, do one of those like brightness things, and the default thing was very dark, so I might turn it up a bit.
To put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes.
Yes.
He had won.
Easy.
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How
doesn't matter.
The machine's grasp.
As you can see the sky, that's what matters.
Strange building hold. But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know.
Is that the same as before?
Perhaps the only thing worth knowing.
It's been actually so long that I can't remember.
Through the open door.
Like the skybox, it feels a bit different, right? The mountains and stuff. I feel like it was like a simpler sort of just field before, you know? But I'm not sure.
The feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
Exactly, I did follow all of your steps.
Was happy.
I attempt to make Stanley extremely unhappy in that case by doing the opposite of what you have to say. Yeah, you got an achievement to beat the game. But the end is never the end. Is never the end.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wait. Oh, here we go. This computer's here now. Input received. Oh, hang on. It's 2 dots now. Okay, so I'm not looking for different computers. I'm just dealing with the same computer multiple times, I guess. It had 2 now. I hate Mondays. Someone needs to get that guy some lasagna.
Came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Nope.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
He reacts to you as staying in his room, right? I think he does.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room.
I'm just slipping it all in.
So utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
They're not even paintings, it's photographs. That's a painting.
At this point, Stanley's obsession...
Or at least a photograph with a filter on it.
...and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Oh, thank you, mystery solved. Shouldn't have made it just that easy for me.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
I love seeing these props as well around here, because they're like remarkably similar to the props they're based on from Half-Life, but like they retextured them just a little bit, just to like say, hey, it's not just taken from that game. It's not. It just looks exactly the same. It's kind of like when Dota 2 came out, and they had like all the heroes that were like, you know, these guys are from, you know, these are the same heroes, but like copyright, trademark, fine, you know, safe.
But at last, he had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Because obviously all the heroes in Dota are like based on Warcraft models, so you can't just use those guys. You can go in there. I'm gonna go in there.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
I can't just jump off here as well.
Investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others?
I love this path. This is so good.
Something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
I love that, like, with like every step you take, there's so many branches still, you know?
There's nothing here.
Oh, there's depth textures.
I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I...
Oh, it was so thoughtful.
Because I did.
And I pooped all of the cereal.
For nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see?
What if it was a MOBA?
Skill trees?
Oh,
Work
skill
with
trees.
me. You've given me
I'll go for it.
absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark. At
Reputation systems. That's what I love.
There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Oh, they all just go here.
I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
You know what? I'm gonna say I have no strong opinions about this.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes?
I don't think he reacted to your rating before, actually.
Yeah, based on the data from your previous playthrough,
I think he always just didn't care about what you put in. It was a 1 or a 5.
Knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
I do like this path, where he just adds in everything you could possibly hate in a video game into it. 21.3% of players skipped the intro sequence. Only the worst 3% of players chose blue door. Not 8 point... No, something about me being very unattractive. Well, that's life. Apparently I played this game for very long. I don't remember playing this game for 7 hours. I'd ask a friend for help. I didn't have any friends. Rip. 98.9% of players are more attracted than Stanley. Damn. That's a lot of people. What happens if we go through this one? Yep, it just leads you through, yeah, in a different route.
That competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors.
Oh no, this is one where he doesn't ignore. He just ignores what you put in. He does not care at all.
Hey, I nearly
there we go.
Got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Okay, here's a route I'm never going to do,
The
ever.
baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right.
This is so horrible.
Fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Yeah, you can play this for about 4 hours. But I think I'm just gonna choose to not ever do this for 4 hours. Or maybe make a bot to do this for me for 4 hours, but yeah. I think I'd much rather just watch a YouTube video of someone doing this for 4 hours than myself. So I think this baby's just gonna go bye-bye now. Bye, baby! See ya! It was nice knowing you. Oh, you can save him, even though he's in fire. Okay. Well, see ya, baby. Have a good one.
Bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input...
Everybody, wrap it up.
Oh, hey.
Shut it down.
So awful. Why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have?
Oh, I wonder if they're gonna do a different game this time. Because I think in the original mod you played a game different than Minecraft. Because Minecraft hadn't even come out yet. Damn. Also, I would distance myself a little bit away from Minecraft also, by the way.
What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
A little bit.
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose.
The Creep Tower. That's what that game should be called, actually.
To the experience of
Creep Watcher.
mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley, and it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Yeah, let's play someone else's game. Narrator, that sounds great. Space Puffs. Yum. Oh, none of my buttons actually do anything though.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
I guess we can go check it out, as why not?
It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Thank goodness, Stanley, what a close call. He really wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get...
No, I'm in the woods, clearly.
Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
What could that even be? A wall game?
Okay.
Age of Empires?
This will be just the thing.
What are we gonna play, narrator? Oh, Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had.
We are surrounded by walls in this.
Nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
How did I get lost in Rocket League? Yo, what a frick? Hey, James, hello.
Okay, so what exactly do we do?
I'm playing Rocket League. What do you think? Of the new season? I got the new battle pass and everything.
Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball?
I do believe so, yes.
I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball.
Oh.
Have fun.
Yes, give me the ball. Let's touch some bases. Oh, wait, they sped me up. God, I'm so quick. Bonk. I'm quicker than the ball. I did it. Oh, hello.
Hold on. What are you doing?
I didn't mean to go down there, I did. It just fell down into the hole. Ah, okay.
Don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
That's how we get down here then.
Story without me. You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Something might have happened more up there. I just sort of fell down. No, I didn't mean to. Oh fuck, it's so dark down here. Ah, there we go. And this is the original mod. I do need to play the mod at some point. It does diverge from the standalone game in a lot of ways, from what I've seen. And I think it would be just fun to check out. Oh, that's the original choice room, right? You can go left or right, Stanley. I wonder if we can see the break room if we go far enough here. No. I guess this might be a break room, yeah? I don't know. Yeah? No, that's how I dropped in. No, I'll see if I can find the spawn at least. I don't see the break room. I guess that might be the spawn, huh? Oh, I wonder if it's still gonna have like the Half-Life props in here. I mean, these are like Half-Life textures, right? Or like Counter-Strike textures? Oh no, they're just like very familiar, like facsimiles of their Half-Life props. They're very familiar, but not quite the same still.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice.
Back in like 2006 or something, probably.
The cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Yeah, it's like, at least like extremely faithful, like facsimiles of Source. Sort of textures and models. They look very much like they could just be from Source. Because a lot of them have the exact same shape as something you recognize from Source as well.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Yeah, I'll be alright, James. I'll be having a great day. Welcome, welcome. And what computer is it now? Oh, none of them. That's weird. Maybe I passed it already. That's a new song. I do not recognize this track.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Well, it does look like exactly what what they advertise it as. This is new content. This is different, new. Oh.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013.
2013? Fuck! That's so long ago.
Commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Me too. How exciting. And see all this old stuff here. It's so nice as well.
Nothing special yet,
Well,
but I'm
this is new
sure
stuff.
it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
There's bound to be.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... oh.
Well, there you go.
All right, finally.
What, you just expect me to believe you go into a box and then you exit another place?
Let's do it.
Ridiculous. Yeah, that sounds like a lovely day.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right. All right.
Oh my god.
The jump circle?
That's why you can buy the jump button. They did... I can only jump within a circle. And then I'm gonna... This is borrowed power. I can't believe they're gonna give us the promise of power for just a couple of years and then take it away from us. And repackage it to make us buy new expansions and new subscriptions. Blizzard, please. Jump harder? I'm jumping! Ah, shit. I'm not allowed to jump anymore. That's all the power I could borrow. I'm done for.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
You can't go in there. No more jumps remaining. Can we buy more jumps as DLC? Oh, I can just go back into the lift. Suddenly jump the shark. Hey!
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Are you just gonna be nagging your own game from now on?
Just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Now with over 1,000 hours of new content and oh wait, there's more. Very good.
Because the lift has to take you
I
somewhere.
knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
What could it be?
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore."
Is correct.
Department signed off
There
on
is
this.
one that says that,
I'm
yes.
infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.
Yeah, we can
Dear
just
friend.
do the old stuff again. The familiar nice stuff. Oh, no, we can't. Oh, we're stuck in new content forever. No, I don't like new stuff. No, look, this is when stuff was so nice. Back in 2013.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Could you crouch in the original version? I don't know if you could. It seems unfamiliar to be crouching around like this, and I feel like it must be unfamiliar because they probably added crouch just for this event thing here, right? Don't worry about it. In the next expansion, we'll be jumping again, but like
Okay, you
they'll
remember
limit a little bit of how much we can jump, you know.
turned out to be. Well, it got me thinking
Like
about
they don't want to make us too powerful too fast, you know.
So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Is this Grimrock? It's like a fantasy
Call it
thing here.
the memory zone.
Oh,
It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
that's lovely.
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release?
Remember the demos?
October of 2013, when the game originally launched. Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh,
This box, is this a Sims box or is it the Incredible Machine? I think this might be the box cover for the game The Incredible Machine, right? This looks so familiar. Car, go! Operator's manual. What else do we have here? Indoors monthly. Shapes. Exclusive Lenny Smith talks about his new box. That's one of the best shapes you could get, really. It's a very, very useful shape. Who couldn't love a good box? You couldn't live without a box for a day. Jump. That's not the time. Wait, I put in the time. I put in the time when I launched the game. It's not. That's not even close to the time. You should know what the time is. Oh my god, that's like an old version of Firefox. Clicks. What the fuck is clicks? Is this old news as well? I wonder if they actually took this picture here when they launched the game. That is like Firefox for Windows Vista, I think. Because that's the error of the frame there, right? Is it up? I think that might be Vista. Zone, sweet zone. Don't forget. I told you it was different. Yeah, this is the original ending. Skybox here. Yeah. The mount. This looks more like hills and stuff, and they're like mountains, like much less cartoony mountains in the new one. Good times. Are these all the things they edited a little bit? Nah, some of these things are exactly the same, like the doors up there. I like it. I just, my boy. My boss. No, it definitely says my boy. When you talk about boss. Oh my god. They have like a one-hand control scheme for this game. Check it out. Oh man. I can play this game one-handed. Check me out. I'm playing Stanley Parable with just one hand. Now what am I going to do with my other hand though? I can do anything. Oh, I got an achievement. That's what I talked about. Unachievable. I think this is actually true. I think it's impossible to get this achievement. I think it might actually be true. I should look it up though, just in case. There is an unachievable achievement for this game as well. Created surprisingly down to earth. College is so uneven effort to enroll poor costed a new tack to achieve diversity. Basically pushing election of the council allies. 50% of the sign hat. The small creature owns the other half. Bastard! Can I at least choose what small creature gets the other half? I would like, perhaps like a marmot or chinchilla to have my other half. That'd be really cute. Oh, nominee. Oh, it's the same one. I thought maybe it was for different years they were nominated. For story. Oh no, they got 3 of them. Story, debut game, and for game innovation. I think it's well deserved. Oh, that's what the endings. That's a confusion ending, I think. I should do that one. In the Love and Mary of Little Stanley. A little hamster guy. I can't zoom though. Oh, no, I can crouch though. That's a cutie. Very painterly environment. This is much different from the other parts of the game. It's a bit like TF2. Random piano, just out there. Who liked the piano though?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing.
That's all the games need to be every game. Persona 3, Skyrim, covered all
it's just a
all video games rather.
A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
If you do what's common with like Skyrim and the Persona 3 and every other video game out there, it's just a circle. That Venn diagram is just a circle. The original remake. What's this down here? Memory zone maintenance. Sketchy. It looks like in such a disrepair down there. Person of the year. Is that supposed to mean me? It looks like a mirror, but it's not. Oh look, it's Stanley. And the person that finds Stanley's corpse. Oh, that's cool. That's fun. That's a hammer. That's a hammer window of like one of the maps. See, that's a light environment. Well, what did you call those things again now? Not prop, but it's like a detail. No, not a detail. It's like a thing. Entity, yeah, light environment entity. I've stared at these windows for so many hours of my life. I love hammer. Very good. It's the blue and red door. We just saw those. Wow. All these memories. Wait. When was a Mac ever in Stanley Parable? Was it? Was it ever? I don't remember that. I swear that box cover there is like a reference to... Is it The Sims? Or is it the Incredible Machine? It's gotta be one of them. I feel like The Sims has a very similar box cover to that. Literally anything. People play games because of what they can do inside them, and the game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parables,
Only 9 though, bastards.
Stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Repeatable carpet textures. Oh, that's a classic. I love that one. How many stuff like that? It's gold. Oh, this there it is. The Source SDK. I gotta love this thing. How sick is it that Valve did this? Honestly, the Source SDK is incredible. It's actually like such a good bit of like development tools that they give you to just make whatever you want with the engine. Super nice. I really loved the map tools with Source
These were
SDK.
simpler times, Stanley, but I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no.
Oh no. Is it a bad Steam reviews?
Reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here.
Oh no.
Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
What terrible Steam reviews did these guys find?
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Oh, there's so many of them. Look at all the Steam reviews everywhere. You can't read them because they really like fudge the texture on them. They're illegible. I think, right? Yeah, that's just quality profile. That's it. And it's on the highest. No, we were reading some of these reviews. Honestly, I feel like you'd have to like go for a lot of reviews until you could find one that's like appropriate to put in the game. Can you imagine the reviews for this game though? How insufferable they're gonna be? Like there's gonna be so many people begging to be in Mega Deluxe. The Ultra Deluxe.
Let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can.
I don't think you're very preachy.
This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
Maybe you shouldn't keep these, you know? You have to keep these memories.
Down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Rude!
A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt.
That's the worst that could happen if I just skip ahead.
These negative reviews from the record, only positive.
Oh my god. What if this is like an ARG sequel to Adam Sandler classic Click?
I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Oh, welcome to New London. What the hell?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday.
That's long enough to meet Illidan when he comes back from imprisonment.
Before lunchtime, it can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what.
Oh, he repeats.
By becoming it is, so on and so forth. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations.
No, it wasn't. You repeated.
It, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto.
He's rambling again.
Look,
we should get him.
I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been?
No, well, I guess. I would just say that you are making a choice, but not making a choice at all. But
or rather,
sure.
Do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite. You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once, that you are both making. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Ooh. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room?
There was.
I do feel quite certain that there was one
Here, right?
door.
To the void.
How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window, or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip
I think I'm just gonna have to skip a door into existence here, frankly.
button. There was. Go. Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall?
I'll give it a try.
Is there any possibility that
can't
you
sprint,
could,
though.
say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes.
I got it. I won't press the skip button.
Right back.
I'll just keep ramming into this. Well, I'll just press the skip button, I think.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room.
I'll just have to wait for the room to erode then.
It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times.
Yeah, so 12 hours to check, so I'll trust them.
There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it...
And erosion.
Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
Oh, what happened to the light?
Sitting here all that time.
Plan's gone.
Sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking, and you saying nothing.
So good something going on with this wall. There's like a seam here.
Exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening.
Too bad.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome.
Thank you.
I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year?
Can't say I have. That sounds horrific.
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the...
Oh, the clock isn't even going anymore.
Opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight.
Oh, you did a flourish. I had to cut you off. Oh, it's not even here anymore. Hello? Narrator? Hello? Are you here? Well, I guess it wasn't Grove. He doesn't need to be talking anymore. He's done. Oh, hello. I think the fire alarm needs another battery, right? Oh, I'm just gonna skip ahead to when it doesn't even have the power to beep at me.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to
Jokes,
leave a
please.
little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are...
Skip. Hello? Oh no. It's just like Pokemon. Now that I got this power to skip ahead in time, I've grown too powerful and now I can't live without it.
The end is never the end, 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 is never...
I feel like I'm looping a little bit here. What's that sound? Oh. It's leaking? Well, that's about to be a problem, I think. Your memory zone is collapsing. We've got to take it out, I think. However long this has been. There we go. My friend, erosion. We got it finally. Although it might not be enough. I need the walls to collapse as well. So how long has it been now? I don't actually remember the sequence of how long they added between each button press, but this must be like very many years between, right? Each time pressing. Oh, it's so lush and nice here. Kind of. Oh no. Well, it's turned into like dirt. That's nice. Just gonna wait for summer again, I think. What the hell is that? There's a bit of debris that's fallen on the dirt now. That wasn't there before. Can't really see what it is. Oh, that's a weird angle. We got a Dutch angle in here. It's just a bit of a roof, I guess. No, my button! It's fucked, isn't it? Let's ruin the skip button. Well, I guess that explains why the plants only lived there for a little while. It's all dried up in here. Oh no, it's too open-ended. Where do I go? I could always go towards the sun. Well, I feel like there might be something if you go towards the mountains. No, the sun. You gotta go towards the sun. That's the safest bet. Not over 20 minutes? Oh, we've been here for centuries now at this point, I think. While you were just skipping ahead for 20 minutes, I was going to the end of time.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I guess that's the end of new content. That was pretty fun though. That was a cool map. There is like just new stuff everywhere. Like that's probably not even the only new route they've done. New content. That neon sign wasn't there before.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Hey, sick. I really should play some Red Dead myself. Just never getting around to it. It's so expensive, is the other thing. Very expensive game. And also, what I do want to play the first one as well. So, I would like to play that on the emulator. I would like to see how it works in emulator. Oh, it's £17? Okay, you can get it for cheap though. Fair enough.
And about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions?
Yes, this is more like it.
Will cover with a fully fledged sequel, an entirely new experience built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly...
Christmas sale on Epic. That might be what I do in the features one. I have so many games though to play, so I'm not in a rush, but
calling it the
sounds like a good place to
so
start.
much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
I love this very, very depressing startup office we got here. New content is out! New content, part 2, is in. Old, busted, new hotness. Cool red section of the chart. E. Dude, a fern? Oh, that's 2 ferns? I don't know if I can deal with 2 ferns. Thanks for attending my meeting. Which logo do I like? Honestly, I think that one. I think this one's a good choice. It's a good font. It's pretty slick. All good shots in a cool red section. Yeah, otherwise, what am I meant to look at, you know? There's 2 of them now. This is getting out of hand.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them.
I took the red marker.
Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
The prequel to Stanley Parable. 2 is a sequel to the Stanley Parable. Is a sequel to... But that's a sequel, right? Yeah, sequel. So prequel, sequel. Gotcha. This way to the show floor. There's a light attached to this rope. Is that normal? New features. Let us sit down and check out what these new features are going to be. Who's going to give me a presentation? All my coworkers are gone. Nope. Well, okay. I'll just walk past it. And I wanted some new features, but you're not going to tell me. I guess I just have to go and find out.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Oh! Yes. Merch. This t-shirt is the best new feature. The end is never the end again. I would wear some Stanley Parable merch. Maybe not this though. Yeah, that one's okay. I saw the new content. There we go. Found it. That's my new black gamer t-shirt I can wear. That button says the name of the player that is playing the game. That's new. I'd love to hear my name.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
So,
That's not my name.
clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role play as Jim.
Okay, I'm Jim now. Welcome to the Jim streams. Jim Gaming.
I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget who
I'm
you are,
Jim.
and simply become
Jim is
the
me.
name Jim.
I's
I
Jim.
want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim.
Jim
falling
wakes
in
up at
love
8
and
a.m.
heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim.
Jim
and as
eats
watching
waffles
your dreams crumble into
breakfast.
dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so,
Yes.
then please step forward and press the button.
I'm Jim.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Yeah, we both Jim now. How does that feel? Yeah, we both were Jims.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
Bye, Jim button. I don't think you could possibly too much Jim now. Oh, it is. Yeah, okay, yeah. Someone had to take it away from you. It was too much power. Yeah, it was getting out of hand.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
You're welcome, dude. You got a bespoke game, just for you. Free new and easy achievement. Can't believe it's that simple. Well, I'll get a new and easy achievement. Pull the lever, receive achievement, number of steps. It just works. Shit.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
I want the achievement. Give me the achievement. Yeah. Why don't you just go ahead and become a wizard so I can get the achievement right now? Stop wasting time. I need the achievement. Damn it. Can I fix it myself? Well, I guess I'm just gonna become some sort of gym that has an achievement today. I can't believe it. I need this. Give me. Life's hard. Even for Jim.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
The jump circle. You still allowing more
Bring
jumps?
the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
Come on, give me more jumps. Bastard. Can't believe I'm so robbed. It just works. Can't believe it's that simple. The description, it just works, is not the sort of glowing endorsement that some guys thinks it is.
Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Look at these guys. They want it so bad. Too bad it's mine. Collect them all. Taste the sequel. I'm moving the hell on with my life.
The worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Bit like the museum ending did you get in the original. That's new. What is new? Tell me. Epilogue?
Epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Oh, hang on. Is that nothing? The button that says Jim. That's Jim! You heard Jim in the game. It's just a Jim button still, isn't it? Actually, he's still just taking it away from us, hasn't he? Yep. This guy doesn't even need a Stanley Parable to feel like Jim every day of his life. He's got very locally sourced Jim every day. Reassurance bucket? New feature? I hope they put this in Dragonflight.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm
Where is it?
ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Bucket.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
Oh, that's nice.
The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they?
Gamer just said I was
More awaits you.
98 percentile unattractive, so or 2%. I don't know how this did. How is it 98 or would it be 2? It said like 98% of people are more attracted to dummies. Hey, if it bug makes me want to watch it, that's great. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
Does anyone give out awards for most...
People are already saying how much of a nice little bucket I got here.
That really should be an award.
I haven't been working out. It's just natural. Whole new office. Wow, it's the carpet and everything in there. That's something. Red is in the orange. Please, no screenshots. Wait, what? Why is it making a noise? Oh shit. It didn't like that. I tried pressing print screen. It did not care that I took a screenshot of it. That was the phone static noise, yeah. But... why is it playing that? It's just coming from the screen. I picked up and moved my phone. I don't think... does your phone even like make that static noise anymore? It's been so long since I've heard that noise. Stop it. Yeah. Dude, I played a game recently. I forget which one it was. But it had like robot enemies. Oh, it was Warframe. In the new Warframe patch, they got like a new campaign mode and everything. It's really cool. And there's like a story mode, and they had like different robo enemies in the story mode. Okay, and when you kill them, they actually scream at you, and you can definitely just hear it's the modem noise. They use the modem noise to make a scream for the robots.
Like balloons, but I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Get well someday.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Oh, thank you. Perfect. You know me so well.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
That's a collectible. You are here. There's map, jump circle, free achievement. Buttons is the name of the player that's playing the game. Merch. Settings World Champion. I haven't been to Settings World Champion. That's over here apparently. Is it here? Where's the Settings World Champion? No, that's the merch. Hang on. Go in here. Here's the map. Where's the collectibles? A9. That's the... so I'm facing it. The... yeah. And then I should go back, and then the Settings World Champion should be on my right. Is it in here? But that's where I got the balloons. What the hell is Settings World Champion? Oh, maybe it's up here. Settings World Champion. Oh, wait, I did see there's an achievement. It's called Settings World Champion. Do I need to get it? But if I can go in, maybe? I can try it. So I think it's something like... do every setting. And then I maybe get it. Is it maybe there's just a sliders? I'm not sure. Oh my god, there's a lot of sliders. But I will become the settings world champion. Oh shit, I won't do that. Okay. Done all this audio. Controls. I don't need to readjust every one of these, do I? I did it though. So maybe a settings world champion yet? Do I have to actually have to like? Or maybe if I do full screen. Windowed. Apply. What do you mean res? I don't know. Weird. Why didn't make me the settings world champion? But I did every setting, didn't I? I feel like I did every setting though, other than like... Oh, I guess I didn't do all the languages. But I haven't like deleted my data or reset the settings. Do I have to do that as well? That's crazy. I'm not gonna do that. That's absurd. That's my data. I can't just abandon my data. I worked too hard for it. I got the reassurance buckets. Have you seen the office decorations? Yes, you have. Yes. Epilogue, infinite collectibles, infinite hole. That's at K, so it won't end. That's gotta be the last one, maybe. Is there anything else? This map, regiments, merch. Oh, wow, that's the last one. Right, okay, let's go. Infinite hole. It won't end, apparently. We'll see about that. We'll see just how limitless this is. Space like infinity. Depth infinity. It just keeps going. Is that like skin? What is that?
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Are you sure about that? Never been done before? What about the portal, eh? There we go.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be...
You reckon this is actually infinite?
I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do
It's
it
there, yeah.
rather than later.
It's a falling stream. I should go for a break while falling, actually. I haven't done a break yet.
Okay, Stanley. I don't
Maybe I'll
know
go for a
how to say
break.
this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly
Breakdown, Habibi, yes.
infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean.
Just you, really. I didn't say much.
All this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite. If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
I'm doing all sorts of stealing from gyms today. Not only did I make the game say my name, as if my name is Jim, but I also jumped down an infinite hole. Really cosplaying as all sorts of Jameses today. But yeah, I think I want to have that break anyway, so I'm gonna have a little break here. You can enjoy being down in the hole, and I'll be right back. See you soon. Yo, hello, I'm back. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, you too. Hello. It's time to return to the surface. Whoop.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Do you even have any more ideas? I think we've been through all your features. Unless I can just jump back down into the hole.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time?
It did, yes.
I feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean...
I can see it's smaller.
I didn't make an infinite hole. I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled.
Yeah.
I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about. And I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime.
Yeah, me too. I've had enough. So I'm just gonna go out the door now. Oh, frig, there's a hole here.
I have guessed. You're back in the hole. This starts to become a thing where... Wow.
Even shorter.
Yeah. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit...
What's the deal with
It's
that?
no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter.
Oh, he's in on it now. It's experimenting now. Oh.
The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity.
It's just like a baby pool.
Divot. How is this still appealing to you?
I'm still stuck.
Holes, but at this depth,
I'm still stuck.
see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
It's gonna go up though from the hole instead now. Oh, frig.
Is the
No!
teleport button not working?
It's broken, yes.
Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone.
No!
The hole, I get to do literally anything.
Get me out the hole.
Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
No, come back. Look, I'm also carrying a portable hole right now, if you think about it. Oh, what? What's happening? What's going on? There's a sound. Did it just start playing a song? Someone coming to get me? There's something happening. Oh, the hole. It's adjusting. It was merely pretending to be shallow. Now we shall return to where all holes come from. We shall meet the hole men. It's a loud song. It's a pretty good joke. What's going on? I feel like I'm making a I feel like I'm making a song for fuck, what's that guy called again? Burial. I think I'm making a Burial album right now. Wait, what am I? Did it just turn into Blanca? Oh, that's a perfect hole. There we go. No, 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 no. Give me back.
Stanley!
Oh no!
Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But because of that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment.
Absolutely, yeah, that was great.
I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole. From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Snowy's gonna do it again. No? Something's happening again. Oh, no, it's loading something. I'm back here.
Here we are.
I didn't even give... it doesn't take me to the office. So I guess this is actually... everyone, it's a sequel right here. This is the place. I guess I can check on things again to see if they're different. I kind of want to check on the hole again. Because I feel like that's something I could have done differently, but just leaving the hole, right? Okay. Not much going on here. There's a car going through the wall again. I remember you. Very familiar car. Yeah. Let's just go back to the hole. Then, instead of staying down a hole, we just... Oh, hang on. The hole's locked off. I can't go back in there. Rude. Okay, fine. Have a deal with him. Jeez. I guess I can go for a new collectible. You know, and I do need to collect all of them. There's 6 of them, apparently. Nope, that's also locked off. Okay. Is there anything that isn't locked off? What about the settings? The settings world champion, is that locked off? Oh, the epilogue. I could check out the epilogue. I can't even go up the stairs anymore. I'm still carrying the reassurance buckets, I don't need to get that. There used to be a staircase here, right? I guess it's locked off. It's gotta be. I don't remember how to get up the stairs, but it was here somewhere.
Come now. You've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
I love that this guy still clearly looks like an NPC from Half-Life 2. There's the staircase. There we go. Then we can get to the epilogue as well. Settings World Champion. I tried to get in there, but it didn't want to give me the Settings World Champion. I don't really understand what I even could do differently. Do I have to like activate every setting as well? Like go back into the game with every setting a different way? I feel like I did adjust every little fiddle with every little thing here, you know? Ah well. Who even knows? Oh, maybe the button that says gym is ready for me this time. Epilogue. That's the old one and the new one together at last. That's yours. Wow, the name that says gym is still gone too. This place has turned very liminal all of a sudden. Oh, this is bucket is still here to keep you company. Can I put the bucket back now that I'm done borrowing it? Or what's going on? I'm so confused. No, how could I be confused? I'm getting reassured from holding this bucket. It's so reassuring, this bucket. Hang on, there's a fucking QR code there. It takes you to StanleyParable2.com. A sequel, huh? Direct YouTube link. That's new. There's just a YouTube video here I could watch.
Say there, Jimmy. What's that you're enjoying? Why? It's breakfast, of course. Everyone loves breakfast. But did you know that breakfast is getting a sequel? That's right. It's called Lunch. And critics are raving that lunch will be everything breakfast was and more. With a little luck, we may even get a trilogy series out of it. Say, you know what a sequel is, don't you, Timmy? Why, sequels are the world's way of clinging helplessly to the past. We all want more of the things we love, and we're all afraid of change, which is what makes sequels so popular. New ideas are dangerous to me, and they can lead to early aging. This eager-minded young thinker is just 20...
Oh my god, this video is long. This video is really long. I think that's like a 15-minute video. If we're gonna watch it, I'll just put it on the stream instead. But I did find out via the QR code, and which is sent me to StanleyParable2.com. Wow, it's just all blocked off, eh? Wait. Very strange. At this point, I think the only option is to begin the game again. Because I think I've looked at everything, every new feature. Look at the collectibles. Let's have a look. Jump circle, yes. This map, yes. This map is also a new feature. Free achievement, I guess I did look at that, yeah. I did look at the gym button, I did look at merch. I tried to go into settings world champion, but I can't get the achievement for some reason. Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket, I got it already. And then winter, office decorations at 3, yes, I winter. Epilogue, yes, I winter. What the fuck is Q? That's free achievement, okay. Collectibles, infant hole. Yeah, I think I just have to quit out at this point. Unless... Oh, exit! There's an exit! That was hard to see.
Right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
That exit could have been signposted a little bit more.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Sure thing.
Okay. Are you ready?
Ready as ever.
Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Is all the features in... Oh, there's a texture file as well.
Stanley.
There's 2 holes.
This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they wouldn't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game.
Ultra Deluxe.
Could it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
I'm ready. Ooh. A new font and everything. It's bold. Look at this infinite hallway. Honestly, actually, this is very cool. I like this effect a lot. That's actually pretty cool. Do I have any more settings? It's red now. It wasn't red before, was it? One day I will become settings world warrior, whatever it called it. But not today. I guess the only things I haven't clicked on here now is like reset settings and reset save data. Still not gotten it. I don't know. The only thing I can imagine now is resetting my data, which I could have done at the very start of the game, I guess.
A man named Stanley. Stanley worked for
balloons.
where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427.
The features that taste left within.
He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Beep boop,
This is
beep
what
beep boop
employee
beep.
427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that
Oh shit, the subtitles, they're gone.
as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Where the subtitles go? There they are. Beautiful.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he
It's
would
good red, I like the reds and that.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting,
This is different,
and
right?
say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation.
No, maybe not.
Something was
There wasn't
very clear.
balloons and stuff, but yeah, I
Sharp,
think otherwise it was
frozen
the same.
solid. Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Reassurance bug.
Up the bucket.
Stanley felt reassured. Oh, the new content is gone. No more new content for us.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a
You can stand right there.
belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments.
You're a
Expound
jerk.
on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point.
You haven't even painted this room
Detailing
yet.
the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket, as they have changed
Don't even need wallpaper or anything.
over the years. Let him have it.
I bet no one even goes in here to clean anything anywhere.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all.
Alright, lay it on me. What can I do? Probably just.
Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Is that it? I do like the sticker a lot. That's great.
All right.
That's
I've got a
fantastic.
second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
Oh yeah, I've almost forgot.
Applications for this sticker.
Can you get more stickers? I would love more stickers. Just give me all the stickers you
I
have.
could take the name calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Alright, have it your way. You can go outside. Yay. I think that's it. That's all we're getting out of this. Let us move on. And we get to keep the stickers too.
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
I don't know what the bathroom is. Whoa! There's a thing! Collectible!
Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
It's the same one though. It's not even different. Is the other one going to be in this lift here? Oh wait, it's not open now. Why can't I go into the lift room? It's weird.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Oh, I shouldn't have interrupted him.
The bucket knew all along. Was the bucket
It's fine.
guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
It's just, I've just re-recorded every line and just inserted the bucket in it.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him,
Reassuring me.
that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written, but of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized, nope, it's death for Stanley and the bucket.
I don't want to die. Not yet.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Sure, I've never seen this room before. I mean, the bucket here changes everything.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things
I love the lift coming down.
not want to do in
Like it's it's just like floating down like the bar is riding on his wall.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
It's uncanny hearing the same line, like,
Would dismantle the
but with a different read, you know.
two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made
Eiffel
a sad
Tower.
comment about taking down the system.
Stop that. Where's 4 and 5? Well, there's 5. Where's 4? Might be the one that's up there. And there's a 7? Boop, boop, boop.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
Oh!
What? Wait. What was happening?
I knew something could be different. I mean, that's why I had to go here.
Not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it.
No, I'm trapped in here now.
He can leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
This guy's downloading his games in CHUD format. Oh wow, that's a lot of space saved. I've been trying to grow my old game library as well, yeah.
There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting.
It's nice to have available.
Or a photo. He could no longer...
I just need some way to make it presentable and nice.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms.
Something like a launcher or
rushed over him.
like front end would be cool.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Yeah, I'll do the play night, I think. That sounds like the way to go. Play not. I usually don't really need like some sort of consolidated like launcher for all my different launches. Not really. I think I gotten to a point now where it might be more useful, but I can't be asked. But now with emulators, I think that could be quite nice because that's a lot messier.
Arriving at the lounge, what a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Oh, this isn't the confusion ending, is it? There's two endings, if you veer off here.
I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this...
Wait, this is new.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you.
In the Adventure Line, the baby game, my wife.
You're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Get me out of here. I don't want to be part of this intervention anymore. Oh no, but going to the broom closet. I am succumbing to old classics now, I believe. Fine, I'll go on the Adventure Line. Sure.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
That's the one.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
I don't remember that one.
Now as it was back then.
That's not in the memory zone.
Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Is that a character?
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
No, my bucket!
Now, Stanley, say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
It's my property.
Now listen to me.
It's got 2 stickers on it.
Give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure,
Oh, very one-dimensional character made up here.
Character with only one personality trait deserved to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters. Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket,
I think it's about to blow up.
you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
No one wants to see the bucket crushed. You can't trick me with your dulcet tones.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. for the moment in time that you were here. You were magnificent.
You're a true friend, Bucket Destroyer. Never got to fulfill its purpose in life. Bucket Destroyer will get his time in the sun as well. I could just go right back under and destroy my bucket and see what happens.
Someone was following Stanley. He was
Wait,
sure.
where's my bucket?
If he checked over his shoulder now, he would
There's
surely
my
catch
bucket.
them. It was only a matter of the confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his...
I think the buckets toggle so that
Stanley had felt
the paths are slightly different, right?
telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Oh! Trust the completionist instinct. How can we find them? Bottom text. Small phone disappeared across the office. We had to send as a resource to ensure the retrieval. There are many questions. There was no memo from management. Bathroom. The void. Who took these pictures of them? Who did it? All the crews provided by employee 416. We can do it. Red room. Figlies are hard to find. Thank you. Good luck. Maybe we are the collectibles. Shut the frick up. The room may concern. I managed to pick up sounds unusual to a regular office ambience. All local audio sources using an array of cardioid microphones. Also has a directional mic, a microphone which picks up sound from a particular area. Analysis of the recordings allowed me to triangulate the source of these strange noises. Data shows that in all likelihood it's coming from a dark areas behind a very warm place. I also picked up what looks to be reverberance of a porcelain surface. Anyone have any leads on this? Wouldn't you like to know? I think that's just talking about the bathroom. This is clues to find the collectible in the bathroom, which I already did. Weird spinning figurines. What did it do? What did it want? A data? Money? Stock options? We saw in the cargo room. Employee 421 building a bridge. Do we need contacts to find them? Potential liability. Can we sell them? Obviously. More dollar if sold together. How many are there? 6? 151? Why floating? Magnets? Training exercise for management? Dreams? Magic? A quarterly success. Artist rendering. Mission status. Inside of a secret exhibit. Private smelly place for an important person. Okay, yeah. Nearby a fireplace. Stairs, something to do with stairs. Some are both red and blue. Large room, lots of boxes. Okay. LOL locks like 427. Roasted. Is this some kind of a game? There must be some point to this.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
I wanted more stickers. It's fine.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things.
Figlies?
Mini stands. Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes. I think
Stanlerines.
another Stanlerine
That's
under your belt.
terrible. Like Stanlerine. It doesn't feel good to say. Stanlerine. It's hard.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal...
Oh no, someone's replaced my bucket.
Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket?
How did I put stickers on it and everything.
Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence
Oh no.
of the bucket.
This must lead to some sort of confusion ending or something.
The rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing
Oh my god,
one bucket
the buckets.
to the next. None of them were his. None of them were his.
I would recognize the bucket.
Come to me, Stanley.
No, these have the stickers on them.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful.
I got a Midnight Greatsword.
He doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Well, having a bucket inside of you will do that.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was.
He had a bucket.
This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him.
The fool.
He didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter.
You keep that.
Of course, she had
Put a sticker on it to remember which one is yours.
a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself.
Heck yes.
My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
The whole way? Mariella lives a blessed life.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
I kind of want to grind up a bucket already. Let's go do that. Let's go grind up a bucket.
Spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
So that would be this way, right?
The bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Bucket's always wrong about the meeting room.
So the
You just
two
can't help it.
detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Bye. I'm going back to the intervention again.
Good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
No, I need the skip button.
Together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
They even put the fern. They didn't mention the fern
You're
though.
spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure.
Oh, that's a
line
hot place
so
actually.
new. Yes.
But doesn't have the
That's what
figurine.
the fans want. Let's do it.
I should try crouching into the fireplace in the boss's office. That might be where a figurine is.
Hey, look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original?
Stepped off the line, I'm a criminal.
Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something. Don't you get it?
No problem, I'll just dump it right under.
Bucket.
And absolutely no issues doing this.
To introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Dun dun dun.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition.
Me too. I'll be absolutely delighted to shred my bucket.
In the original game, but it's such a well fleshed out character with so much.
He's gonna flesh the hell out of my bucket in a second.
It really feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Is it actually gonna be even able to destroy my bucket? It might just fail.
Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality.
I'm the Skype part of the original classic character, man.
A character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters.
Can't destroy the bucket.
To really explore the Bucket Destroyer,
Dun, dun,
see that its design
dun, 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 dun.
is so
Do it.
closely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality
The bucket is like monologue right now about life
say that about. The broom closet, certainly not. I
and
wonder
choice
what the Bucket
and
Destroyer
Zanzibar
merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this.
and the time we spent together.
Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans.
I might really have a problem. I can't seem to be able to break the bucket. Yeah, I think they're right. I really do need an intervention, actually.
The Bucket
Oh, it's
Destroyer,
so bright.
prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend.
Oh, it's so
For the moment in
bright.
time that you were here,
Oh,
you were magnificent.
you a beautiful bucket. That's why I couldn't take you out. Yeah, get fast slash bucket. As a counter hit as well, I show you. Counter. Dung. Oh, okay. Hello.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not the correct way to...
I wonder what happens if I don't go to bucket, actually.
Felt the bucket
It might just be the original game if I don't take the bucket.
employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was.
Or it might, like, refer to me, like, not carrying the bucket with me.
Never mind.
I have to do one run without a bucket and see what happens.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
There should be a figurine there somewhere.
Bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Okay, I'm
Got
going
it.
back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
The office little meeting area is at
Sense of
Figley's.
happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1. Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Bucket does sound like a StarCraft Pro as well. They really love just having a name that's just like noun. what's this? Where am I? This is the whole thing. You gonna play some David Bowie?
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track.
Evidence.
Nothing
Number 252.
is real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense.
Oh no, we're addicted.
There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so...
Big Bucket's legend grows. He's the two of us, you and I. Carry that with you wherever you go.
I can monetize it.
Monetize the bucket? No!
It's
Bucket transactions!
unbelievable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that?
Bucket getter, stay here.
Who's there?
Bucket hound. Had to come. Hello? Well, that's evidence, alright. Evidence of something.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh. No? Yeah. Yep, it's different. We got a no bucket scenery? No?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew
It was different for a while, and then it became
He
normal.
wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
I think this is gonna be the old version, right?
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and
Yes.
get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left.
Yeah, so this is just old stuff now.
No, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Oh, hello.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding?
We'll never know when I can open them again.
The whole story completely...
Chat, you can never know when I can open the eyes again.
Rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
Okay, should be fine.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
Oh, the bucket's gone.
he missed a memo.
Yeah, because this is still part of the confusion ending, I think. Yes.
Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you...
I think this is the same though, so I can just I'll just start this one again, I think, because we've seen this one before, and we don't have too much time in the stream left now.
He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now...
It's like 7 minutes until I stream for 3 hours, so
Good old bucket.
I think we'll just do one last ending here, and then
Off on another
we'll call it.
adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
This way.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Nope.
No,
No.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching. All of his co-workers...
I should try the mind control ending with the bucket as well. Ah, there's so many things I could try.
Meeting room. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would... Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
Bye. Bye, meeting room.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
No.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The
I do
cargo
like his goblin voice whenever we're going in here. It's great.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was...
There's a figly over there.
It had spoken to him.
It said so. We'll go here.
He did whatever the bucket asked.
Let's go listen to the bucket.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
It's a phone place.
The phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
This room is all sorts of broken. Is this broken?
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Nope. What do I do? What do all this bucket do? Can I do the chair thing now? No, they intentionally disabled the way for you to get on the desk here. Never mind. Can't cross endings.
Lately, I've been concerned
Why is this
about
room so
Wouldn't
scuffed?
you be concerned as well?
You messed up,
The
guys.
delusion
The
of
room's
like this,
scuffed.
Obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it.
That's really useful.
It doesn't do anything else.
But that's like about as much as a demand for any object. Ooh. This person. Oh, no, it's still scuffed.
He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket.
Don't put the bucket on the stove. You gotta hurt it.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket.
Bit stickers.
Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine.
It does. You did a good job at rendering this bucket. I do believe you're real, Stanley. I want to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid.
Yeah.
Like it would be better at moving in a
This sort of platonic ideal of what a bucket could be. I want to relive the same day with the bucket over and over.
Oh
Look.
my god, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Mind control device. You have to turn it off. You have to turn off the mind control device in the bucket.
Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. Oh no. What's going on? Why do I want
Nice.
to be with the bucket. Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the
Oh,
bucket,
fuck.
this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Oh, I can reach it. Thank fuck. I'm stuck here.
Give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Right, time for me to go back to work with the bucket. Don't have to tell me twice.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself.
That's a good place to call it, I think. That's exactly 3 hours.
Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Sleepy. No, that's a good amount of Stanley Parable. Wow, this feels much more of a sequel than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be DLC, honestly. Just like, there's a little bit more. Here you go, a few more endings. It feels quite comprehensive. There's a lot of stuff in it. This is really funny. It's really good. I'm really happy. I finally got to play this. I've been waiting for so long to play some of Stanley Parable, so this is just great. So this is what I'll be playing on Tuesday as well, probably. Some more Stanley Parable. It's Stanley than ever, yeah. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted from this game. It delivers exactly what I wanted, so I'm very happy with this. Yeah. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. There you go. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for the stream. I hope you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with this game thoroughly. I will see you all on Sunday or Tuesday for some more video games. Maybe some more Stanley Parable, probably. Alright. Cheers for hanging out with me. Take it easy, everyone. Good night. Bye. See ya.